Maybe want to drive to see President Trump and Joe Biden next Friday. Both going to be rallying in Minnesota. Wonder if they'll be at the same spot. Save on some gas. Just be at the same spot. Pretty similar messages. You could probably just do a 2-for-1. Trump campaign said he's going to host a great American comeback event in Bemidji. Biden's campaign said only that the former VP will campaign in Minnesota, but released no further details at that point. The president is coming for like the third time. This will be Biden's first time. And if Trump's going to Bemidji, it'll be interesting to see where Biden goes. But I did see this in Politico this week, a tale of two Minnesotas. And I have felt this because we've gone home to Otter Tail County and Perham a lot this summer. It's about the only thing we've been able to do. And it's pretty clear. Pretty clear once you get out the Twin Cities suburbs, which, as I found out, is different to everybody. But regardless, once you get out of the suburbs, you start seeing Trump flags everywhere. And you look at the race is tightening here, and both President Trump and Joe Biden pouring millions of dollars into the state of Minnesota, hoping to win the electoral votes that we have here in Minnesota, which has always gone Democratic, at least since 1972, 11 straight presidential elections. Last time we voted for a Republican, that was Richard Nixon back in 1972. What about this year? Roshini Rajkumar is an executive coach, crisis communication expert, also a host here, Real Talk with Roshini on WCCO. Roshini's on the CenterPoint Energy Home Service Plus hotline. Hi, Roshini.
Hi, Cory. Lots to get into, and I love the visual of Biden and Trump sharing transportation. That would be hilarious.
I just think it'd be great. Like, look, hey, we can share a stage. You go first, Joe, and then I'll go after. I don't know that we can pull that off right now, but that would be a great visual. I know that you've been up to, outside of the metro area, and what do you think about that article out of Politico, A Tale of Two Minnesotas? It seems like that. It seems like there is a split.
It really does, and I don't even know that you need to go too far outside. I mean, there are certain suburbs of both Minneapolis and St. Paul before you get into what might be considered outstate or exurban, and you see a lot of Trump signs. I mean, it's an interesting time because the Political article referred to the purple. There are some zones that you're not quite sure, and I think that is what both parties are counting on is how can we get that independent voter or that undecided voter? I've shared with you that I am not crazy about either Trump or Biden, and I am nonpartisan. So my vote is still up for grabs. So this is the kind of thinking that is happening all over our state. And in some places it's very visual with those signs, but it is really shocking. You have also seen different parts of the country where there will be parades of people and signs, whether it's for Biden or for Trump. And neither candidate, neither party can really take anything for granted right now. It's too close to call.
That's so fascinating to me, Roshini, because I've on the show, I've talked a lot about, well, wait, by now you know who you're voting for. But I would say, like, to your point in your story, that those would be the people who would – or who maybe classify themselves as independent, maybe still waiting. But Roshini, let me ask you, what are you still waiting on? Like, what could possibly change or sway your vote between now and November? Something that you wouldn't even know.
I mean, I'm waiting on a dynamic third person to come in, but that is not going to happen, Cory. Yeah. It's not going to happen. And this is the thing. I have friends from both sides of the aisle. A Republican friend said to me, I used to be very conservative. Now I'm just a little right of center. I don't want to vote for Trump. I can't vote for Trump. I don't want to vote for Biden. And she has selected a different party candidate to vote for. And she said she believes in voting. She's, of course, going to vote for the office, but she just can't ethically vote for either of the candidates. I thought that was really fascinating, and there might be a lot of people in that boat.
Yeah, I do. I think that there are a number of people in that boat where they're like, I don't like either candidate. I think that's what it comes down to. It's not that. I mean, each side has their base. I know that there are a lot of people who are anybody but Trump, and even we've seen that with Republicans that have come out and said, like, look, I'm a staunch Republican. I'm even legislators or government officials, and they've said that. But I know that it's the reverse way too, where there's like, there are people, Democrats, who are like, I don't really believe in Biden either. And so I do think that there is some room there, but it's just fascinating to me that somebody would not know at this point given the divisiveness of it all, who you would vote for at this point?
Well, Cory, a layer here we have to watch is the economy. People definitely vote their pocketbooks. So as the economy changes, and if it does continue to grow a little better, like I would not call this a strong economy, but what it could have been, and it's better on some levels than we thought it was going to be in light of coronavirus and all the job losses. So the economy is going to be maybe even more than an X factor. And if enough people align a strong economy with Donald Trump, then that leans in his favor. And remember, on the Biden side, there are a lot of people that are into Biden. There are many people who are more into Kamala Harris than Biden, so they'll vote that way. But you're voting for a president. You're not voting for a vice president. So that's another thing to think about, and that goes into any voter's analysis right now.
Yeah, great point. Roshini Rajkumar here, executive coach, crisis communication expert. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the new Bob Woodward book, Rage. And it was, it's been really top of mind for 36 hours or so. And the president saying, hey, look, I didn't want to create a panic. You being a messaging expert, can you just explain the thinking here, between a leader not wanting to create a panic?
Well, that's a couple different questions there, because if you're going to try to explain the thinking of Donald Trump, you could go insane, try to figure that out. But what we have seen is his pattern of behavior. So is it stunning to me that after 18 interviews over 8 months that he says something that then later appears to contradict himself when we watch press conferences and things like that? No, because we've seen throughout the course of Donald Trump's presidency, he can say one thing one day that maybe is good for the country, good for him, and then he'll turn around the very next day and say something that really is terrible for him, or he'll tweet something out. So it's not surprising to me that there seems like there's some sort of contradiction in what he said to Bob Woodward and what he said in press conferences, starting in February and March. So that's not surprising. I think we have to I don't know that it's the big scandal that some people are saying it is. Bob Woodward has written several books on various presidents, and it's kind of become his job after traditional journalism. He does these books based on his name. You grant these interviews, you grant all this thing. I don't think any president believes it's going to be some beautiful PR, thing for them. They're opening themselves up. They're opening their lives. They're opening up their teams to Bob Woodward. They kind of need to, see where the chips fall, and the chips aren't always going to fall on your side. So what I tried to do in assessing that situation in the book, I am sort of curious to read it myself, but I really looked at all different kinds of people analyzing it, and you've got the extreme from people, thinking the worst thing about Donald Trump to others saying, yeah, it's like pornographic journalism that Bob Woodward is doing. So you have to find where is the reality check somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, and to your point, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think that's going to be the people who may be undecided. I don't think that's going to push them one way or another. One, it's 2 months out, and I don't think. I think it's basically reinforces what you already thought. Like if you didn't like them, then you're like, oh, here's another reason not to like them. If you liked them, you're like, well, yeah, of course, you didn't want to create a panic. I just think and I don't think it's going to make one difference for people in the middle.
Yeah, it's another book for Bob Woodward. So his fans, and, he's got a round of interviews. He's going to be on 60 Minutes. Those kinds of things are what some people like to follow.
Roshini, great stuff. Thanks for the time, and it's good to catch up.
Yeah, have a great weekend, Cory. Thanks.
You too. Roshini Rajkumar there, host Real Talk with Roshini on WCCO.